Dan Kovalik. Dan Kovalik is an American human rights, labor rights lawyer, political activist. He previously taught at international human rights at the University of Pittsburgh School of Law. But we're going to wag our finger at that university because they were not right and get rid of Dan. How you doing, man? You doing okay today?
I'm doing okay. How are you, my friend?
Woo, you are scratchy. That is a scratch. You may have to cut off and cut back on. No, your
Okay.
video is fine. It's the mic.
It's the mic. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll come back on.
Okay, thank you. Look, while Dan comes back on, shout out to Jeff Rich. Greatly appreciate him joining me. Listen, protect my human rights. I know, right? Look, if you guys dig this content, you find yourself coming back here often, you find yourself watching often, please consider supporting the content. I don't get the opportunity to say it often during the show, but I'll say it now while we have an interlude. You are deeply appreciated for watching. A like, a share. You can support through PayPal, Patreon, Super Chats, memberships, buy me a coffee. All of those things are greatly appreciated. Now let me bring my man back on. Talk to me, Dan.
Hey, how's it going?
Much better, much better.
Good.
I don't know why
Good.
it does that. As soon as you come back on, it's perfect. You doing okay today?
I'm doing okay, all things considered. I mean, what's happening in Gaza, I must say, it impacts, I think, a lot of us. It's really terrible. Personally, I'm doing okay, but it's just hard to watch what's happening.
That is an understatement. I mean, like, it really is an understatement. And I have such a difficult time trying to figure out how to cover the story because I cover it so often. And so you kind of end up in a situation of like, okay, I can show videos like this every day, but that doesn't really get you anywhere. It's just bearing witness to traffic. Look at that. And I showed the video yesterday of the kid, he was a child, where Green Beret was telling the story about how the kid had walked like 12 miles to get food. He picked up food off the ground. He was walking back, and Israeli soldiers shot him in the back, or shot him with a bunch of other people as they were throwing flashbang grenades, pepper spray, spraying the crowd, those type of things. I pointed out how they were building a death camp at this point. Alistair Crook, that's correct. Alistair Crook, for some reason, I always want to call him Crawley. Alistair Crook wrote this article, what he said, Jewish country builds death camps, or builds, he didn't say concentration camps.
I think he did say death camps. I saw that. Yeah, I saw the title. I didn't read it, but I saw the title. I think he said death camp. Yeah.
Yeah, in lieu of a genocide. Effectively, they are preparing for genocide. They are building camps in the way that, Germans built camps. And how hard is it to come to the conclusion of saying, hey, well, we've been killing them in mass anyway. Why don't we just make this process a bit easier, since that's what we've been doing? And he was like, how grotesque it is to even say the phrase, and yet it's apt. What's the latest on this? I mean, have you seen, one last point before I bring you in this. Arab states have gotten together and they have come to a conclusion. The problem is Hamas.
Right. I did see that. Yeah.
Arab states call on Hamas to disarm and give up governance in Gaza. Now, Hamas, by the way, has already said, we will do that. Like, meaning we will give up this notion of governance. But what they're talking about is you should give this up to the Palestinian Authority. For one, at the point where you are murdering people in mass, it's not about Hamas giving up anything. Israel wants to take it. And they have come to the conclusion with Donald Trump that it will be perfectly okay for them to take Gaza. And so they're moving people into a smaller area, which is by definition a camp. Give me your take on this stuff. I mean, what's the latest on this? And have you seen any movement at all in trying to remedy this issue? Because I have not.
No, I mean, I don't see anything happening really. I mean, the last I heard, first of all, the talk about ceasefires was always an illusion, right? It was always, we were always being gaslit about the ceasefire that was to come, but now even they're open about the fact that there's no ceasefire coming. There, of course, they blame Hamas for that, but whatever, it's not coming. There may be a little more aid trickling in, but obviously it's not nearly enough. And of course, people are pointing out that the people of Gaza have already reached level 5 famine, which means, a lot of people, they can't even eat. I mean, that is to say, if you start eating right away, that will kill you, right? There's something called refeeding syndrome. Um, so, long and short, it's a very desperate situation. I really fear that you're going to see a mass death event, in the upcoming days, where thousands of people are going to just start dropping dead from hunger. That's already started, but I think that will speed up, unfortunately. I must tell you, when you were talking about the kid, I think 12-year-old, or I don't know if they know how old he
I
was,
think
but the
it's
young
12.
yeah,
Yeah.
the young boy who walked 12 miles to get food and then they shot him. And you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of a movie I've seen a few times, and that's Schindler's List. Reminds me of the Ralph Fiennes character. He plays a Nazi, and he just comes out on his balcony and shoots people for sport.
Right.
And
And they were, by the way. They
what's
were.
that?
They were. I mean, the
It,
Americans
it
who were there admit that that's
said
what
that they're
Hitler was
shooting
doing.
people for sport. They're shooting
No.
kids in the head. It also reminds me of the scene scene in the same movie with the girl. It's a black and white movie, but the only scene that there's color is a girl in a red dress,
Right.
kind of wandering around in the midst of these killings, and that's what they've created in Gaza. I mean, the irony. I mean, it is the irony of ironies, right? Um, and I'm just struck by that. And I can't, it's hard for me to get over. I have several friends in Gaza that I stay in touch with almost every day, and they're barely holding on. One just had a baby last year, so her baby now is probably, I don't know, maybe 1 year old or something.
Jesus.
Um, they've all lost relatives. One, my dear friend Ola, the one I'm closest to, her brother was killed early in the war, and she was very close to him. She's still mourning that loss. Meanwhile, they're just trying to find food. So to the extent there's food available, like a bag of flour is like $30. Um and it can be higher than that even. That's it's because of the situation of scarcity. And if you can send folks money there, okay? But just to retrieve the money, they have to spend 50 cents on the dollar to get their money. So if you send them $100, immediately it's just 50, you know, just to get it out. And that 50 may get you some flour, may get you a few vegetables, and that's it. And so that's how people are living, if they're living at all. Again, my friends are saying they have one meal a day, sometimes no meals a day. So it's just extraordinary. And of course, no water. There's, people haven't showered for weeks or months. um it really is. It's something that we've allowed this to happen and to continue going on. And I don't see any end in sight. I don't see an end in sight. And this idea that even that they're going to push people out of Gaza, I don't see it. I mean, people want to leave now. Almost all the people I know there want to leave. They can't leave. There's no way out. They're not pushing people out. They just want to kill them. I mean, the hatred towards these people is incredible. It's just extraordinary.
When I make this argument that these guys act like Nazis, And people say, "Oh, that sounds so impolite." Dude, they act like Nazis. They do. And if you read through World War II literature, the sadistic nature of Nazis towards Jews, Russians, Poles is other level. Like, you wouldn't think that you could treat an animal like that, let alone another human being. That is the way they behave towards that group. And I want to ask a question after I show this video. This is Donald Trump asking about being asked, like, hey, do the fact that you have skeletal ghosts of human beings walking around, falling over, dying, children who are like wisp of themselves, does that bother you? Now, personally, I think Trump's a sociopath. So I don't think these things bother Trump. I think he's a degenerate of a human being. I think Joe Biden was a degenerate human being. If these people get cancer and have a horrible death up until the point where they break hell well open, it wouldn't be enough. That's my point of view. As again, I can be pretty dark on this stuff. This is Trump.
We'll let you know.
And mind you, again, let's be very clear. Trump is doing this. He's doing this. The moment that the money stops, the moment that the support stops, all of this stops. So anything that comes out of his mouth about starving kids, short of the U.S. being responsible, is a lie. This is Trump.
Is there any use at all in pressuring Israel now to come to some sort of longer-term solution?
Well, you could make the case that you're rewarding people, that, you know, you're rewarding Hamas if you do that. And I don't think they should be rewarded.
So if you are pressuring Israel, a colony that you give basically all of the money necessary for them to murder all of these people, starve all these kids to death, shoot kids in the back, all of this stuff is clear at this point, then you are rewarding Hamas. That is still his argument to this day, despite all of these other groups, even Jewish scholars coming in saying, hey, this looks a lot like a genocide. In Germany, during the Second World War, after the Nazi regime fell, you got maybe one generation, and then after that generation, there was this look back on people saying, I can't believe you did that. Meaning you're looking at your grandfather, you're looking at your dad and saying, I can't believe you were a part of that. You've left this dark mark on us that we would never be able to erase. And there was this kind of conflict associated with that in the way that they look back at their history and was appalled by it. Do you see that happening in America? Because the reality of it is the newspapers whitewashed it. New York Times to this day whitewashes it. You got the Israeli press, of course, whitewashed it. I don't even know how much they even show of it. The European press whitewashed it. Europeans, for all intents and purposes, backed it. Americans, for all intents and purposes, backed it. And then you get to Israel itself, which may or may not exist. But if it does exist after that, whatever that is there a reckoning that's going to take place on a human level?
I would say there will be, to some degree. There already is. I just read this morning, there is a piece how Jewish youth in the West are really backing off Israel, right? They're disgusted with what Israel's doing. So the Zionists are losing the younger generation of Jews who are looking at their parents and grandparents who supported Israel and wondering, how could you support that, right? So there will be that sort of reckoning. However, I don't believe there'll be the type of reckoning you saw after World War II with Germany. And why is it? Well, first of all, let's face it, aside that, yes, there has been a reckoning against Nazi Germany in the sense that there's a vast consensus that these are some of the most evil people ever, right?
Yeah.
However, West Germany was never denazified, right? I mean, the first head of NATO was a former Nazi, okay? So even they didn't have a full reckoning. Let's just be very clear about that. But I think you won't even see the same reckoning regarding Israel, and that is because history, is written by the victors. And the United States is not going to fall because of what's happening in Gaza. The U.S. will continue on. Europe will continue on. And they will be the ones that will write the history. And so, what you're seeing in the media now with the sanitization of what's happening in Gaza, you'll largely see into the future because it's the same people that are going to write that history, right? So, I don't think you will see that same reckoning. Now, thank goodness for social media, which didn't exist for a long time, that there will be amongst a large swath of the Western population will amongst themselves agree this was a terrible thing. This was like the Nazis. But again, that will not be the official history, I think. Um, so I don't think you'll see the same reckoning. I think the chances of actual people being tried, like the Nazis were tried at Nuremberg,
0.
is slim to none. I don't see it happening. I think Netanyahu, who's pretty sick, will die, before any justice can be exacted against him. And I just don't see Israeli officials being tried in the way the Nazis were. So I guess that my long answer to you is I don't see a full reckoning happening here. I would like to see that, but I just realistically, when you even have most of the Arab countries, again, as you point out, really largely in Israel's camp. I mean,
Yeah.
despite what they might say, how is it that there's going to be a reckoning for this?
Yeah.
And Russia. You look at Russia and China; they've done nothing. We have to be totally honest about that.
Yeah.
They're not going to do anything. So who's left to do anything? Who's going to do? Who is going to exact this justice? No one. I mean, um, and that's the sad thing. It is the law of the jungle that we're seeing.
So is it that if you're backed by nuclear power, you can pretty much do anything you want? Is that what we're looking at?
Well, yeah, and if you are a nuclear power, which Israel is too, I mean, yeah, I mean, this has been long in the making. Israel's ability to do what they're doing, right? That they were allowed to build nuclear weapons, that they were allowed to do as much as they did to Gaza. I mean, they already had penned Gaza in for
Right.
years and
Very good.
already were limiting the amount of food and water that was going in, um, which allows them to do what they're doing. I mean, this is a turkey shoot, right? I mean, you have, well, I don't know how many people are left. At one point, you had 2.3 million people enclosed in this small space where Israel could just go in and bomb and murder people at will, and that's even more true now because you even have
Smaller space.
a smaller, yeah, much smaller space people are being corralled into, and the people are a lot weaker. I mean, a lot of people just want to die at this point. Seriously, I mean, you hear people say that I mean, I would want to die. I couldn't face what these folks are facing. Um,
I
so
would
we
want to.
are watching something truly terrible, and it won't be the first time that a terrible, terrible thing will happen in history. Those who write the history will just shrug their shoulders. If you look at the murder of the North American Native Americans, for example, which numbers in the many millions, um, that's very few people lose sleep about that, right? That's been largely whitewashed. Um, Churchill's crimes in India, right, in Bengal, have been whitewashed. So this won't be anything particularly new, except that the great evil. It is an extreme evil, I would say. You know,
I
and
would
but
say,
it also, yeah. I'll just say something else. I mean, the other thing that is also true is that there are really terrible things happening right now in other places in the world. You know, the Congo has been barely covered,
Yeah.
where millions of people have been murdered by Rwandan and Ugandan forces that the West has supported. Millions, at least 6 million, maybe 8 million. That war continues, which involves raping women. It's a terror. You know, that war is almost not spoken of.
I do get that. And
Yeah.
I've had there was a woman who was a friend of mine. Well, she was a doctor, actually. God, I gotta stop doing this. Breathtaking. She was very attractive. And her and I used to get into these big arguments over stuff like this. Because her thing was like, well, what about the Congo? And I was like, well, I didn't know anything about, meaning King Leopold's soliloquy, all of that stuff. I knew a historical context, but I didn't know the current thing. It wasn't the focus. It wasn't something that comes
No
on
one
media.
tells you it's not. It's not
Right.
covered.
It's very
There was a
quiet.
Holocaust of 6 million people killed in a fairly short time during
Yeah.
the Clinton administration, and the Clinton administration helped set the whole thing up. And yet, Bill Clinton is still at large. Susan Rice is still at large, and even had a position in the Biden administration. She was very critical to all that. You know, so great crimes are committed in the world where there's no reckoning. And, you know, this is why people have religions, because they hope that in the next life there will be a reckoning, right? That's the only solace people can have in this type of situation.
So only military force.
Well, that's what's happened. Yeah, there is no rule of law. I mean, and let's face it. I mean, to the extent there was any, it has died. It has died on the shores of Gaza. I mean, it has been murdered. There is no rule of law.
I would say one difference is social media. Like in the old days, some rando would write a book, and that would be the history of whatever. And in these days, I can go to my webpage and pull up William Burns' memo in 2008, just in a heartbeat. Like meaning the proliferation of information right now, especially with this kind of diversification of it on social media. Yeah, some of these people are whack jobs, but you also are able to get channels, information, data, historical context that you could never get before. And all of these crimes, there is no photo or there is no video of Native Americans being slaughtered that I'm aware of. There is video, volumes of it, millions of videos of Israelis having fun, murdering children. Okay, that's a different animal. Like, I don't know any videos of Nazis murdering people in death camps. I have plenty of them, of Israelis shooting babies that they call dangerous, starving millions with skeletal frames, walking, or dying in their mother's arms. That is a different animal. That is harder, from my point of view, to hide. So I may accept your point of view. Like if you're thinking of Israel is just little America, right? And America was able to commit a genocide and then follow that up with slavery. And then 400 years later, well, we can tell people what to do now because we have our morality is just so fantastic.
Yeah, we're the good guys now. Yeah.
Yeah, we're the good guys. But I don't know, the world doesn't see that. The world doesn't even believe that. And I think the majority of the population of the world looks at Zionists, if not Nazis, as sociopaths, as psychopaths in the way that they behave. And by the way, they're raised to be that way. Like I had Jen, what is her last name? Jen, it'll come to me in a moment. Oh, Perlman. She was raised as a Zionist. And she talks about how it is an indoctrination. You're taught that Arabs are animals, the Arabs are trying to kill you, et cetera, et cetera. I remember having another guest on, it'll come to me in a moment, a rabbi, where he was talking about how as children, they take people to death camps and saying, look at what happened to you. Look at what happened to you. Like they're programming you in a certain, almost like a Nazi youth mindset. So many of these people, when they grow up, this is their frame of reference of the world. You almost have to be denazified. I don't know what to do about that. Like, I don't know how to, As I pointed out to him, I was like, well, yeah, but black people don't act the way about slavery. He was like, well, you guys aren't programmed that way, in the way that they are. I don't know how you deprogram them. I don't know how you, and you have these lunatics walking around with nukes. Like that is an astonishing problem for the world. And by the way, a problem for the world that at some point the world needs to get to the point of saying we can't let that happen again. But then it becomes, okay, how do you not let that happen again? You're effectively saying no hegemons. I don't know how you do that. It's complicated. It's just, I mean, look, I think you agree with me. I've had, Sarah Bills was on the show one day, and her and I got into this argument about civilization clash. And, I have a Star Trek argument about this stuff. Leave countries alone, leave them to their devices, ensure that people have the things they need, and they wouldn't necessarily want to go to war. You create abundance, and you create world abundance. You allow people to be free and everything else. She was like, you're out of your mind. If you leave people to be free, they're going to be Lord of the Flies. They're going to be killing each other. I think I'm right on that. I don't think she is, but love her to death. She's fantastic.
Well, I mean, I agree. I mean, I'm largely I don't. I'm an anti-interventionist. I largely think the interventions in other countries have made those countries worse.
Yes.
Have set those countries back in terms of progress.
Yes.
Um,
Leave them to their devices. They will be back.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at Iran, I mean, if we had not overthrown the Prime Minister Mossadegh in 1953, where would they be today?
Right.
Where would Chile be if we didn't install Pinochet? I mean, you can go on and on and on. Although I will say, in this case, in the case of Gaza, I would support a military intervention to stop Israel. Yes. I really do think
international law allows it, right?
Yes, because of the genocide that's being committed. And I actually did a little video this week. I think the model is what Cuba did in Southern Africa. Very few people know that Cuba intervened in Southern Africa in the 70s and 80s and helped liberate Southern Africa, helped overthrow apartheid. And that's a history that very few people know about, right? Mm-hmm. And we need that now. I think if Fidel were alive today, he would have sent his troops in already. The Yemenis are ready to do it. They have all these troops trained. They just need a land bridge to get in. They would have to go probably through Saudi Arabia, which won't let them, but they're ready to go in. And the time for that is now. I mean, that something like that has to happen.
If indeed there was a military intervention, I guess the question would be, how would that even work? And before even the military intervention thing, I mean, Turkey still gives them oil. China, Russia don't get involved. And I think China still sells them stuff, even on that level. There seems to be a lot of bellicosity from the world without any real action in that bellicosity.
Yeah, there's nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. And again, even aid, why aren't there flotillas of aircraft carriers being sent in to Gaza? Why isn't Russia and China sending in flotillas that are backed by military naval battleships being sent into Gaza? I don't understand why that's not happening. It just baffles me that the world has not done, again, the minimal, even just to get aid into there. You have these citizen flotillas where 20 people will go in a little ship and they're just captured immediately, right? Yeah. But why aren't states sending in military-backed aid? I don't understand it. I just don't understand it.
One last question. You're the United Nations. I mean, you're an international lawyer. If you would think, like, you get these token things of France, we're going to recognize the state of Palestine. Okay, thanks, right?
Or where's that state going to be? In Gaza on a hellscape? Exactly. I mean, thanks for that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Same thing with the UK, but this is just political pressure. This is
It's
population.
actually it's political cover my ass. I mean, this
Yes,
is a nothing. I mean, again, all these things should have been done a long time ago. Yeah, but go ahead.
right. No, I agree with you. It's a cover my ass. It's a Joe Biden thing, right? But Joe
Yeah,
Biden is like, oh, I'm working tirelessly in order to blah, 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 blah. And come to find out, Israel is like, God put Joe Biden in that office to protect Israel. That's the way they looked at it, because Joe Biden didn't do squat, didn't pressure us on anything. And what it made clear was that if Joe Biden would have did what typical presidents did and say stop, they would have stopped. Which means their impunity came from this idea that America's not going to get involved. That's all we care about. Let's go. Let's kill a lot of people. Let's murder. Let's rape. Let's pillage, etc. And let's come up with the propaganda that we effectively need, that Western media and everything else is going to carry as we go about doing this. That is the way they looked at it. It only takes a U.S. president to say stop, and it stops.
of course.
Which is why I call Trump a degenerate, because oh, we don't want to help Hamas by feeding babies. And it's just outrageous. Why doesn't the UN get involved in this? The UN has the capability of saying we're going to ostracize Israel, we're going to make them a non-state at this point, considering everything that's taken place. But they don't do that. America carries that much weight in the UN General Assembly.
Well, they don't, though. I mean, they get outvoted all the time in the General Assembly. They don't have a veto power there. They do in the Security Council. And there could be, some people are pushing for a uniting for peace resolution in which the General Assembly
Exactly.
could order military action or other action to end this. So you're saying, why don't they do that? And again, I don't have a good answer for you. I don't know why. Even with the Hague group that met in Bogota, they didn't call for that. They didn't say, oh, we're going to sponsor a uniting for peace resolution, right? I don't hear any state. I have not heard one state party to the UN say they're going to back a resolution, uniting for peace resolution to intervene in Gaza. So why that's the case, I cannot tell you. I don't know why.
Would ethnic cleansing be better? Meaning the people just leave. And I know you said they're not allowing them to leave because there's no way to leave
Right.
to, per se. I mean, Egypt is not opening.
Well, but again, but that's not even the point. They're just not letting people leave. I mean, obviously, Europe could take some folks, and obviously, ethnic cleansing is better than genocide. Obviously, people being alive is better than them being dead. I mean, that's an obvious point.
Right.
It would be a terrible thing. I mean, again, I hate to be kind of put on the spot there, but obviously people, I want those people's lives to be saved. I don't think it should come to ethnic cleansing.
Agree.
But I don't know what's left in Gaza for them now.
It is a brutal question. I agree.
Yeah. It's not, but on the other hand, let's be honest, Israel did this to them, and so they should be given land in historic Palestine, even if it's not within Gaza. I don't care where it is. I mean, in the end, Israel, the state of Israel, has to be defeated. And those folks in Gaza need to be compensated for what has been done for them. With land, with homes, within historic Palestine. That's what I'll say. That's what I think should happen.
Well, if Israel attacks Iran again, you may get your wish.
Well, it could happen, and they seem to be gearing up for that. So
yeah, they're going to bite off more than they can chew on that one. Daniel, man, great breakdown. You always give a break.
Oh, well, thank you. You're very kind. Thank you.
Well, it's true. You do. And it's morbid, but it's reality. It's kind of what's taking place. And I think the key point is Israel needs to be defeated.
Yeah.
And, whatever that means, Zionism. I do agree with one of my former guests that made the point of saying Zionism is toast. Agreed. I mean, it's a battered ideology. Somebody can try to carry that mantle all they want. I don't know if that works. Whether that leads to the destruction of Israel because of what is taking place here, I don't know. whether they've overextended, whether their economy can keep it up, whether, as you point out, the people in the West have started to turn against what has been taking place. I don't know. But if this was 400 years ago, I would agree with you that there is no reckoning. Yeah, I don't know. That's a morbid thought, that there's not, that you could just get away with this and just skate even in modern times.
Well, yeah. I mean, we see it happen. I hope not, but we shall see.
Yeah. Dan Kovalik. Dan Kovalik is American human rights, labor rights lawyer, political activist. He previously taught international human rights at the University of Pittsburgh. By the way, your books. Please tell the audience your books. You've written.
Yeah, so the one that's currently out is The Case for Palestine, Why It Matters, Why You Should Care. And I have a new book coming out with a co-authored with Jeremy Kuzmarov with a foreword by William Oliver Stone.
Really?
Yes. Called Syria, Anatomy of a Regime Change. And that will be coming out October 1st.
Oh, I need to check that one out. Because that is so contentious. Like,
Yes.
you have people who, it's the Russians' fault. Oh, the Iranians abandoned us. The technology was used. I am looking forward to that book.
Great. Thank you.
For this, man. You be safe, okay?
You too.
All right. Dan Kovalik, the man is